how well did rich people do during the pandemic? Apparently pretty goddamn well. In fact, according to a new analysis out on Tuesday by Americans for Tax Fairness, billionaires saw their combined wealth increase in 2021 by $1 trillion. I say that, and I almost want to channel like Dr. Evil, $1 billion. Well, that's nothing now. No. You have the wealthiest corporations in this world and the wealthiest billionaires getting over $1 trillion. And that's just in a year. That's a 25% increase. Now, leading the group of 750 billionaires is, of course, none other than tech bro Elon Musk, who actually had about $118.2 billion in wealth gains. That's a 77% increase from 2020. Former Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, meanwhile, saw their net worth grow by $1.4 billion and $18.3 billion, respectively. So overall, billionaires in the United States now collectively own $5.1 trillion in wealth. So to answer the question, they're doing amazing, fantastic. If you're a rich person in America, you have never done better. Never done better. By the way, this is the same time that these same employers are saying, but we can't give you higher wages and benefits. No, we can't give you a union. That's crazy. We can't afford that. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting, isn't it? And by the way, also at the same time, where a lot of companies are raising their prices, claiming, oh, no, with inflation, we have to raise prices, or we're not going to make a lot of money. Except that they're raising prices while already making a ton of money in order to make even more money. You see what's going on here. So now compare that to how everyone else is doing. Now, ATF's analysis finds, by contrast, according to the latest Federal Reserve data, the bottom half, 50% of the US population, collectively owns only about $3.4 trillion in wealth. So now, again, 750 people own $5.1 trillion in wealth, while everyone else, the bottom 50%, own way less than that. Does anybody see anything wrong with that? Anybody? I mean, it seems like, and the data definitely shows that we have had a massive upward transfer of wealth from everyone else to the rich. I mean, you can also look, by the way, as an example, the vast majority of pandemic aid, right, passed by Congress. Now, that aid went primarily to the rich. Now, of course, you had some scraps that went to regular people, a few billion here for some stimmy checks and some unemployment benefits. Great. But again, the vast majority went to the banks and went to giant corporations. If anything suggests or shows you, proves to you, that we are living under corporate rule, it should be this. And all the other numerous studies over the years that I've talked about that have said essentially the same things. And every time I do these segments, by the way, either nobody cares or everybody chimes in the comments section and says, yeah, no shit, we already know this. Okay, yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's very obvious. But at the same time, there's a lot of people out there who don't know the reality, who haven't seen the reality, and are like, oh my God, they're stealing from us. Well, this is how much they're stealing from you. And they're stealing from you, not just through your tax money and tax giveaways by buying politicians, but they're also stealing your labor. And they're not giving you what you deserve in return for that labor. Now, it gets worse, right? Because, look, we're asking for some things, right? We're asking for things, just basic things. Healthcare, right? Now, at the same time that these corporations and billionaires have made that much money, over $1 trillion over the last year, they have also blocked passage of things like, for example, Build Back Better, right? Now, in its $3.5 trillion form, before it was pared back to 1.7 or 1.4, or, at the end of the day, if anything even passes, it's going to be like an expired coupon to Denny's. It would have had Medicare being allowed to negotiate prescription drugs. Now, that would have lowered the prices of prescription drugs for everybody. And especially, by the way, the government, which the government buys the majority of prescription drugs. It also would have provided universal pre-K, free 2-year community college, would have expanded Medicare to, include free vision, hearing, and dental, would have had money directed towards fighting climate change, which is an existential crisis for this country and the world, and would have done many other positive things. Paid leave is another great example. And so, look, these things are essential to the country. These things are what other countries have. And by the way, other countries have done better. They actually offer more. They actually have universal health care in many places. But these companies, well, they see the modest things that were offered in Build Back Better, and they say, oh, no, you don't get any of that. Especially now that we got the idiots in the Democratic Party to go and pass the infrastructure bill, the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We got them to pass that, to decouple that from the social welfare spending, on the promise, of course, that, they'll talk about it, maybe pass it later. No. There was no actual promise. It was a lie. And it was a failure of the Democratic Party to actually be able to do something for their constituents. Complete and utter failure. Complete and utter capitulation. Paid to lose. And so, and look, how they did it is, of course, they got their goons, both in the Republican and Democratic parties. Again, Republicans 100% against anything in Build Back Better. And of course, you had in the Democratic Party, the rotating villains, which allow them, of course, to get away with not passing anything. Like the Senate parliamentarian. Oh, we can't do this. We got the Senate parliamentarian. They say no. Well, the Senate parliamentarian, as I mentioned, you could fire that person and you could put someone else in. Real easy. Very, very simple. You can get past the Senate parliamentarian if you wanted to. And then you have, if it's not them, it's Joe Manchin. If it's not Joe Manchin, it's Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. And if it's not either of them, it's John Tester or Chris Coons or insert corporate Democrat here. And by the way, if you ever get into a situation where they all say, oh no, we are in support of it, yes, well, that's because it's very likely to pass a filibuster, which is, again, is where the Republicans come into play, because they have enough to be able to filibuster, and the Democrats don't have enough votes to pass it. And so, look, that's unfortunately how the game is played. Now, I know that there are some people who are like, well, why don't we just break things up into individual bills? Well, then you couldn't do it through budget reconciliation. And that's the way that they said, oh, we're going to try and pass this through budget reconciliation to get past the filibuster. But if you break it all apart into single bills, then you can't run it through budget reconciliation. So you can only do it so many times per year per Senate rules. And so, again, it's an example of how they use process against getting basically anything done. Oh, we can't do it because of the rules of the Senate, and we got arcane rules and the processes, and we can't break this up, and we can't individual votes because we get the filibuster, but we don't want to get rid of the filibuster, or maybe we'll get rid of the filibuster, kind of, maybe a little bit, sort of, kind of, possibly, but what can we do? We couldn't do anything. Oh, that's so sad. Hey, vote blue. Vote for Democrats. But, okay, but why? What have you done? And again, I'm not saying vote for Republicans, and I'm not saying not vote. I'm just saying Democrats, you can't just keep relying on people to turn out if you do nothing. That's only, again, younger people, we're not buying the game because we know that you're playing this game. And unfortunately, well, that's just, again, look, Democrats win and nothing gets passed. Democrats lose. Well, suddenly there's no more pressure on the Democrats, or corporate Democrats, I should say, to, the fight. Oh, well, yeah, look, I wish we could do something, but Republicans are in charge now, so we can't do anything. But if you elect Democrats, then maybe we can get something done. You elect Democrats, I'm a Republican filibuster, can't do anything. Senate parliamentarian, can't do anything. Joe Manchin, can't do anything. You see how both parties benefit under corporate rule, because that's what we're living under. And so I'm not saying that there aren't good Democrats. There are good Democrats. There are good progressive Democrats, but there's not enough of them. There's not enough of them. And so what you have is a majority party that is corrupt. And you have two parties, both parties, that are deeply corrupt. And it's not just because they're bad people. No, it's a system. The system is corrupt. And so that's why you have this situation that we're in, that we get no real progress on the things that regular people actually care about. And so that's the situation. And by the way, in this kind of environment, this is why fascism emerges, because people get tired of the gridlock and get tired of the broken promises. And right-wingers, fascists, are more than happy to make promises that they never intend to keep. And so we really are stuck in a pretty bad situation. One more thing here. That analysis, going back to Build Back Better, found that Musk's single-year wealth gain alone would more than pay for 6 years of the free preschool for 6 million children. Universal pre-K. But of course, it's not going to happen for all of the reasons that I just described. All of the reasons. They're not going to pay taxes on any of their income. And by the way, the billionaires and their massive windfall in 2021 will go untaxed as a result of unrealized capital gains. Now, Senator Ron Wyden tried to get that into Build Back Better. You know what was defeated by? Democrats. Very, very quickly. Didn't last an hour. Gone. Immediately yeeted and ejected from the bill. So that's Democrats doing. As a result, Bezos and Musk are not going to pay taxes on any of that unrealized income. But the child tax credit that you might have gotten, you might have been able to take advantage of, that is now gone, well, that's just going to mean that you get a smaller return at the end of the year. You think we're going to actually give you money with no strings attached? Oh, no. Welfare is for corporations. Welfare is for corporations. You get bootstraps. This is corporate rule. This is why we have to fight the system and fix the system. And you don't do that by replacing politicians. Now, that said, you can still use your vote tactically to try to stop a fascist takeover. But make no mistake, if you actually want to change and prevent fascism, you've got to change the system. You've got to fight the system.